Hello, hello. Welcome to Tuesday training for practitioners. I'm so excited to be here today and to share this time with you all. Welcome in. Welcome to Tuesday training. I got everybody coming in here. We got Perry coming in, Gary, Lori, welcome. I know you guys are getting in here and getting ready. I'm happy to be here today. I'm excited to talk anatomy with you. Hey, Lori, nice to see you. I'm excited to talk anatomy with you today. And I'm also excited that I get to be back into my own student lounge. Hey, Gary, so that I can post and let you guys know. So I'm happy that we all made it and that we're all here. It's great to be here. Got some fun stuff I want to talk to you guys about today. I came up with, I always try to be open, like what am I picking up? What does everybody want to talk about today? What's going on for folks, even if I don't know for sure? What am I sensing that I could use to support folks with today? And the skeleton came up, the axial and the axial skeleton specifically. I was like, okay, I'm here for that. So we're going to talk today about the axial skeleton and why it's important in alignment and its function and what you need to know about that relative to pain and injury and preventing pain and resolving injury. So we're going to dive into that today. Some of you have probably heard, well, I know my mastery practitioners have heard this before because Lori's like, yes, I have. So it might be some review for all of you who've already taken a deep dive with me on the axial skeleton. And always, I like to bring new things. Plus, it's always great to review. And for those of you who've not talked about the axial skeleton today, I really want to create an open idea for you about like, yes, let me always look there and look there first, especially if you're navigating pain and injury with folks. I say that, and then I hear myself immediately saying, yeah, but hasn't everything been like, do this first, but then do that first, but then do this first, and so like, yeah, I know, Gary, I hear you. I feel you. I get it. And it's like, how do you know? Well, you know when you know. And so the way to sort that out is to know enough about what you're looking for in anatomy and function to be able to discern which should be first and then which one that's first connects to the second one. And that's a process. So just be patient with that. And if you haven't heard about the axial skeleton yet, and it hasn't been a forefronter, a forerunner, like a number 1, 2, or 3, well, then let's create that because it should be a 1, 2, or 3 for sure. So we're going to dive into that today. I'm glad you all are here. Welcome back. I know that this time of year, I don't know this, but I sense that this time of year, things sort of shift. Everybody's schedule sort of shifts. What they do with their free time sort of shifts. How they make their commute sort of shifts. They're on vacation, they're not on vacation. Their kids are in or not in school. Their clients are scheduling or not rescheduling. It's just like June just tends to be that kind of time. Hey, Perry, so glad to have you. Glad you're here. Hello. I know we got Rhonda coming in the house too today, so that's perfect. So do what you can as far as your schedule is to come here on Tuesday training. I am committed to being here every Tuesday. So just FYI, I will be here every Tuesday. Hey, Rhonda, throughout the summer. So if you can't make it live, check the replay for sure. And we'll continue to make our way through the summer. Okay. All right, so for those of you who I've seen 100 times at Tuesday training, with or without a summer schedule, welcome back. Thank you for your contribution here. I love when you guys show up because it means that I'm offering some value to you, that you care to spend your time here. So I feel on purpose, and I know that you guys are doing amazing work. So thank you for being here week after week after week. I deeply appreciate that. If you're just meeting me for the first time, Perry, I'm just meeting you for the first time today. Hi. If you're just meeting me for the first time, I'm Gina Schatz. I am the developer of the Schatz method and your host for the hour. I am both a manual and movement practitioner. So my focus is on what do we all get to know as collective manual and movement practitioners so that we can navigate and resolve pain and injury in the clients that we serve. Regardless of whether you are doing movement with them or manual with them, there is an overlay. So that's my intention for these Tuesdays, to pour into that overlay. And dive a little deeper into any particular subject that's anatomy related, client work related, or even professional development. I was just having a conversation today with somebody on my team about the business side of things. Like, if I could set up my world to just be even live, I swear to you, even like, hair and makeup, like every day, just be live and talk anatomy, I would I would have to pinch myself to believe that I'm still here, honestly, because that is my zone of genius. Like that's where I fly. That's where I soar. That's where I get downloads of information to pour into you. It's where it seems like an answer to every question. Like that's my zone. I love that. When it comes to the business side of getting here every Tuesday, not my zone of genius, definitely hella messy. And I still believe that we all get to make a really good living. So there's some best practices when it comes to the business side of being a practitioner. And that's fair game also to bring to the conversation. Tech and all that, I'll give you my best shot, not my zone of genius, but still a means to an end. And we all get to soar there. So if you're like me, when I was in training, both manual and movement tracks and all the continuing education that came with that, none of that told me how to be a successful business person. So we get to also have that as well. And I don't teach that generally each week while we're here in Tuesday training. It's a huge component of that in the mastery practitioner track. Reasoning is that I don't want what I do want is for those of us who are striving to be experts, you get to make a good living as an expert. So if I can support you in that business side of being a practitioner, not the tech stuff, but the business side of being a practitioner, please bring those questions too, because I firmly believe the more you're investing in yourself, the more you should be remunerated because you're providing value, and it's a value for value game. We pour into ourselves, get hella smart and technically savvy with our skill, provide that for the people we serve. They have life-changing experiences. It's a win-win. Like it should be that. And I firmly believe that. So that's a big focal point for us in that year-long track. And I'm also happy to talk about that in smaller doses while we're here on Tuesdays. Hey, Cheryl, welcome. Cheryl, can we celebrate you again? I know you just got here.
Yes, please. I didn't celebrate live last week.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly. Do you want to announce, Cheryl? I announced for you last week. Do you want to announce this week?
Yes, I am. I'm doing it. The year-long program. I'm in. Yes. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm so ready.
Yes. So good, Cheryl. We're ready that you're ready. I'm ready for you being ready. It's like, yes, held space and you get to go. And Cheryl's deep in it now. She's already in training. So inbox is already filled with all the good stuff. And that's great because I really love our community. I had a dream, it was like one of those like in between sleep and wake time visuals of our community. And I was like, wow, it's just such a cool place to like grow together. So I'm so happy that you're officially with us, Cheryl. Like I have you for a whole year and you can't get away.
I love that Cheryl's like, I'm ready. I'm like, honey, we've been ready for Cheryl for like a year. Like you've been on all of our radars. Like Cheryl's coming and this is the year.
This is it.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank
Celebrating you, Cheryl. Thank you. Yeah, loving it for sure. Loving it. So great. Awesome. And look, even with that, just as I was saying a few moments ago, we're committed and we're still here for more, right? Like those of you who show up every week, I acknowledge you. I see you. You're here for more every week, as am I, right? So it's a value for value game here. I want to generously pour into you so that you can go be generous with the people that you serve. And so thank you for being here on Tuesdays and letting that happen. I am going to, as I promised, talk to you about axial skeleton today and what I know that we get to do with that for pain and injury. Also, for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, even if you're watching on the replay, hi. Every piece of anatomy that I teach is anatomy that I use. So I sound adamant at times when I'm driving home a point. And the adamant nature of that is because I know it works. I actually use it. If it works for me, it can work for you. Please know it and then use it. And that doesn't mean that there's other practices that you're doing that I don't know about that aren't equally effective. But my adamance is it adamance or adamancy? It's adamance. Adamance? I don't know this word. I don't know. I think it's adamance. Anyway, my passion about the topic that I talk about is because I'm using it. So yes, I'm a trainer for other practitioners loving that role in my life. And I still see clients every week. So I'm still in the trenches with you, working it out. And that, I think that matters because I can bring you some real life clinical experience. We talk case studies and that type of stuff at length in our level 2. So I'm always bringing, well, my client XYZ. So here, what would you do about that? So for today, we're going to talk axial skeleton. And before we dive in, are there any questions that you came to training with today out of the gate that I can answer for you? I don't want you to think that because I chose the topic for today that there's no room for Q&A. Typically, I wait till the end, and I've changed, and that's not typical anymore. Now I'm asking at the beginning, how are you? Do you have any questions? Can I support you with anything client-based, anatomy-based, business model-based? Anything coming up for anyone?
I was just thinking about this morning how we're always learning. Like I'm listening in the mastery program to a really old recording, like one of the first, right, touchstones, which is like, I don't even know if Zoom was around then. Anyway,
no, it wasn't.
Right, I'm listening to it, and a lot of the information, like I'm like, yep, I get it, and there's still new information. Or maybe it's not necessarily new, but you guys know how when it lands a different way after you've heard it like a worded. And so as I'm excited about exoskeleton because I guarantee there's something that I will remember, but also hear a different way.
Yeah, such a good frame of reference, Lori. Thanks for bringing that up. Hey, Anna, because I'm also, hi, Anna, because I'm also reflecting on some of that now too. This is like a big time of reflection this particular month because the mastery practitioners are getting ready to graduate and the new ones are coming in. And so I'm like reflecting on, did I give them enough? Do I haven't just like, do I do enough? Just like we do with clients, like, was that a good enough session? And of course the answer is like, yes, you did amazing. But so there's always this point of reflection is my point. And I wonder sometimes when I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is a new way that I'm saying it. This is a new way that I'm teaching it. Then I start to question, did I always teach this or did I forget to teach this? And to your point, Lori, that Touchstones course is 10 years old. And I go back and I look at things and I'm like, I was saying it then too. I just feel different about the material now. My relationship with the material is advanced and grown and developed, even me, right? And so it's worth it to review things that landed once, even if you didn't put them to work when you first heard them. If it landed when you heard it and you didn't know what to do with it, go back to that information later so that you can put it to work. Sometimes we're just not ready to put it to work yet, but we're ready to hear it so that we know where it is. It's kind of like a file deck, like, oh, that's in the blue folder, but I'm working in the red folder right now. But I'm going to go back to that blue folder because I remember something in that blue folder really catching my ear. And I feel like I don't like to live life in the rearview mirror, but I feel like when it comes to learning, it's valuable to tag those things and review, go back to it, rather than soaring into the future thinking, oh, there must be some new method, or I've been a manual practitioner for 10 years and I don't have the answers I want. Maybe I need to go be a movement practitioner now. Those big leaps, I think, get to be made thoughtfully. And sometimes the answer is yes, you do get to go get your PhD, for sure. You do get to switch career paths, for sure. But with practitioners learning the body, I really think we underestimate review. Like, go back to the place where you first heard it, where it landed, and you just didn't know what to do with it. Because you might now know what to do with it. Instead of thinking, I just don't know enough, even though I just spent, 6 weeks, a month, 10 years learning this one thing, and it didn't give me all the answers. Well, it might have all the answers, but you might need to go back and review it. And I'm finding that even with my own work, right? Like, I developed this method a long time ago and I'm still going back and going, yeah, I was saying that then. Interesting. I have a new relationship with what I'm saying now. Doesn't mean I'm doing different work. I'm still doing the same clinical work. It's just different. Go ahead, Gary. You got something to add here?
It's a question. When you use the term, this landed for me, or this made sense for me.
Yeah.
What's the feeling when that happens?
Oh, you're so adorable. Oh, Gary, I get it. The feeling is I'll give you two parts to it for me, and I'd love to hear for the rest of you too, because I know Anna, things land for you. Lori, things have landed for you. Certainly, Perry, if you have an answer here too, jump in. Anybody, it's fair game. For me, it's usually, getting back to your question, Gary, it's usually a two-part feeling. The first is I hear it bigger. I have a thought about it that connects me to an application of it. Like, I've heard this over and over and over again, but now I have a client where I'm like, oh God, this is the thing, right? So I have a thought about it that expands. And when something lands and it's a somatic experience for me, I feel a rightness about it. Not like right, wrong, but it's like right and I've arrived, or I'm in the right place. That feeling of synchronicity, that's the word. It's like a feeling of synchronicity. I'm like, I needed that. I feel that feeling of assuredness more than I think about the data. So when I have one or both of those, usually now they happen in tandem, then I'm like, that's something, I got to go with that. And right now, the way that's coming up for me, it's less about the body, although I am still learning anatomy as I go to. You've heard me preach this a million times. I will continue to. We all get to keep learning about the body. I still learn anatomy. But that place now where it clicks, that landing, is when I'm hearing you guys ask me a question and I hear myself say it differently. I'm like, that's how I say that thing. That's how I communicate that, so it's got meaning for them. So there's still that same, it lands when it lands, whatever you're up to. Does that support you, Gary?
It's interesting, the last point you said. Once something lands, you can then communicate it to a client. It's okay for it to land for you, but I think it's important to be able to say, okay, how do I translate ABC to them?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even more than how do I translate it in what I'm going to do for them, because we're service providers, we're doing the work, right? We're doing the manual work. We're walking them through movement. Like, we're not moving for them, but we're doing the providing. And in our community, especially the mastery track, you've got to be knowledgeable enough and clear in your messaging to message what you know, because that's been missing for so many people, especially in this country. For the medical world is not a healthcare system, it's a sick care system, and nobody gets just explained things. They come in confused about why they're in pain and why they're not getting better. And the answers are obvious to those of us who know functional anatomy. So then communicate that so your person feels calmed and supported and seen and heard, right? So yes, when you can do something for a client with that information, and also when you can message it to them. And if you can't message it yet, keep striving, because it matters. That's when you start hearing things from clients who are like, I've never heard it explained that way. That makes so much sense. Or, oh my gosh, I like, now I'm not worried. Like, now what do I do about that? You know, you can always tell when it lands for your client when they're like, okay, what do I do about it? Because most clients are not going to ask you for work. You're the service provider. They're expecting when they come in to see you that you're going to do something magical that's out of their control. It's not like that, but they think that when they come in, right?
Yeah,
so
I do find clients come to you for your knowledge as well as your work. But when you're able to explain things to them, what's going on with their body and what this is a fact, I find clients have been impressed when I'm able to share that, as well as doing the work. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? And of course, we got to keep learning how things are explained. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Perry. Like, they want to know. They're walking around in this vessel, this intimate relationship that they know very little about. How ostracizing, right? And so we're bridging that gap for them by explaining to them their anatomy and how they're designed and how it works and what to expect and how to prevent things. Like, we're helping them become empowered with that information, which is not the same as just explaining how smart you are. It's not the same. messaging to their benefit, not about how you are smart. That's the nuance there, right? And I know that's what you were meaning, Perry, and I heard you loud and clear. It's just worth it to reiterate that. We don't need to be smart, we need to be connected in our message. Go ahead, Gary.
When a client comes to us, they want to be out of pain or they want something fixed. And I find that it's really important to get the permission of the client to actually educate them. Some don't want to be educated. Just fix this for me. I don't want to hear about it. It's that extreme. To the other extreme is, I want to know everything about this I can because no one's been able to help me. So I think that's part of my intake before I start working with someone. I just say, if I notice something or I think this will help you, do you want to hear about this as we're working on it? And some people do, and some people are just want to be zoned out. I mean, so I think that part of the communication is really important. How much do they want to hear?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Master guys. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, blah. I have now. I'm a movement practitioner, so I have not. I want to say that I feel like we're doing them a disservice if we buy into that. That's really what I want to say, and I don't want to come across as harsh. But they can benefit so much by befriending their body. And I think that's the first step for a lot of people, is befriending their body. I had someone yesterday with the torn oh my God, the name just, the scapula, the top, the muscle that sits on the spine.
The supraspinatus.
Thank you. My God, I knew it yesterday. And, she's been to so many people, and just being able to explain it. And she didn't ask me to explain it, but, I felt I owed her that knowledge. And I think with gentleness and kindness, if you can bring awareness about the body and what's going on to them, I wouldn't even ask the question, Gary. On my intake, I don't ask the question because you're gonna find out anyway. I'm gonna tell you anyway. With kindness and love, but I feel it's part of the service. I really think it's incredibly important, that the body awareness, really important. And I have to leave in about 15 minutes, but I wanted to come in and say hello. My client schedule changed. I miss you guys, but I will have to leave soon.
That's all right. Thanks, Anna. Lori, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Maybe, oh God, let me know if you can hear the lawn guys make it on. Oh, good. What just came to me about that, do we educate them? Do we not educate them? Is going back to the goal, right? What's your goal for this session? Gary, I think you were in that that master class also. Like, that just popped into my head. Like, if their goal is X, Y, and Z, then there's, oh my God, it's so noisy here. Then there's a certain amount of education. If their goal is for relaxation, anyway,
that's very good.
I'm going to add one more. I'm going to add one more thought too. We talk about this a lot in mastery. You get to be the authority in the room when you're providing the outcome. And so part of why I think, Gary, you and Rhonda, I saw you nodding too, why you get some clients who want answers and some clients who don't, is because you're still allowing the client to tell you what your treatments are. And maybe that comes from, you don't know how to solve all the pain issues. So actually it's kind of a break. Subconsciously, it's a break to just be like, we're just going to do something relaxation right now because I actually don't have enough bandwidth to solve all the orthopedic problems that come through the door. So if you're putting out, life's an inside out job, guys. So if you're putting out that sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not confident, sometimes I can, sometimes I can't solve it, then you'll get some clients who want and some clients who don't. Careful though, not to make them wrong about that. Because as soon as you make them wrong, you're in an adversarial relationship energetically with the people you serve. You'll never get who you really want to come through the door. You'll get adversity.
Mm-hmm.
So be really thoughtful about who you are walking into that treatment setting and what you're up to. And that's who you'll attract. It's like antennas that go up in the universe. You know, your antenna goes up and people are like, I need that station. I'm going that way. Right. So just, yeah, go ahead, Perry. You got something?
Yeah. I like to treat the everyday athlete, people who are working on themselves. They really ask questions. And I've been fortunate at the clinic. Most of my clients are like that. And it's amazing, even when they weren't be so active, they started doing activities for themselves. Like one of my clients said, I started doing Pilates. I started doing more yoga because they're starting to feel better. They feel, okay, this is good for them. So, and I just go according to what they ask. If they want to be quiet, they're quiet. And if they want to talk, I just read what their body's doing and what's being communicated. So if I've been fortunate, I got clients that I like working with.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think that's key. You got to decide, you get to decide who is your ideal client. If you're thinking you've got to take everybody who calls you for an appointment because money, dollars, or whatever, you're in a scarcity mindset. You've got to decide who you like talking to, feel that feeling. You're either drawn into working with a particular type of client on a particular type of work, or you're repelled by it and want to make them wrong because you're disgruntled about how that hour just rolled out, and anything in between. And then pick the one that lights you up and be self-loving enough to be committed to that, because that's how you'll be in the most service.
Mm-hmm.
You're not in the most service if you actually don't like giving relaxation massages or being quiet or listening to people resist. You're not being in good service to them. You're just filling time and getting paid for it. And that's why you don't like it. That's why it grinds. Because you're like, I'm not actually lit up right now. I'm not on purpose. We all want to be on purpose. So pick what you love, because that's what you're good at. And then you'll know you're providing good value. And be just clear about that without the adversarial stuff that comes up either. So you get to be the authority. We have a training on that inside our mastery track. You'll hear this again, Cheryl, in the year a couple times, I'm sure. Be the authority. Just know what you want, know what you're good at, and provide that. It's the same as if somebody came to you and said, well, I really want what you offer, and I'd also like a vanilla smoothie. And you're like, I don't have a kitchen here and I don't offer smoothies. Would you just try to find a way to get them a smoothie? No, you'd be clear. I don't offer that. I want you to have a vanilla smoothie too when you're done here. You can go down the street 2 blocks over to the right. Don't try to give them, you trying to give them something because they want it means they're now running the show. And that's not how pain and injury is resolved, by the way, because their somatic sensory nervous system is giving them all kinds of incorrect information about what's actually needed in their body. Even if you were trying to be nice, you would lead them towards not a solution. You can't feel in your body what's needed. It's not possible. Are you kidding me? I wish I wouldn't have had to train all my practitioners to work on me, because I know this stuff and I can't figure out some stuff in my own body. My nervous system is not wired to see behind me. Anyway, I could go on about this. Pick what you love that you're really good at. And if you're not great at it yet, get training in it, and then be the authority and pick what you want and let that be hung on your energetic shingle. And that's what you will attract for sure. Every time, I promise you. And there's more people that need you than there are those of you that hours that you can serve them with. So don't be in scarcity. That's a whole mindset money thing that you get to stop if you're doing that. Your day can be filled easy in your tiny little community, wherever you are, USA. I promise. So let that not be the thing that stops you either.
That's totally true, because There are some people that want to move on from you because they want someone else. And I kind of get in my mindset that go stay with the other person because I'm moving on my own journey. What's been happening with some of my clients, they've been coming more frequently because they got some pain issues that they want to deal with. They like the path you're going on. And of course, I'm, continuing to learn stuff. So they like the journey you're going on. And so some of them you find they come more frequently, or, they're improving themselves, but they're coming, or they send people that are like them to come see you. So
yeah, we love referrals, right? Referrals are the best form of purpose on the planet.
Gina, I like what you said, bouncing off what Gary said, is that when we feel, I was just thinking about it, like when I'm inconsistent with my client, it's when I'm not quite sure. I'm like, oh boy, I can't remember. And then I kind of pull back a little bit, right? And then I lean in and pull back. And that's when you're smiling. Like we kind of ping pong, right? We kind of go back to comfort and then we come back in and then therein lies the inconsistency. And when we're inconsistent with ourselves, then our clients are too, even though they're coming to us with these complex questions because they know we have the answer. And here we are showing up like, what do I don't know.
Yeah. We could go on. We could totally
go on forever about this.
We could go on about this. There's a big piece of how we succeed is our leadership more than our anatomy skill. And leadership is all about mind management. Like, where do you put your mind when you have the answer? Where do you put your mind when you don't have the answer? Where do you put your mind when you're seeking the answer? And where do you put your mind when your client walks in with whatever they've got going on that's opposite of your energy at the moment? Like, where do you put your mind? Where do you go? Where's your auto? Oh gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh shit, I'm nervous now. Or geez, what's wrong with them? I can't get them to do blah, blah, blah. Like, where does your mind go? Because that supersedes any anatomy skill. Do you get to be anatomy experts to serve the body? Absolutely. And you could be an anatomy expert and take yourself out of winning every freaking time based on where you let your mind go. That's leadership. That's the difference between folks who are self-aware enough to make changes where needed and those who are continuing to repeat their life year after year after year without really making great changes. So that's a responsibility that we all have as humans because we have consciousness. So it's part of our responsibility as a human and as a professional in our industry to be in, effective mind management, to be aware of where you go in your mind when you have or don't have the answers, right? The same thing goes when you do have the answers. If you're over arrogant, if you're over bossy, if you tell your client it's got to be this way or the highway, it's the same thing. Like, where's your mind? So where are you going with this situation between you and the person you're in service to? Where are you going with that? Are you making yourself smaller and backing down and then getting resentful? Or are you steamrolling over them like a boss, and not like the good kind of boss, but like, a steamroller where they're irrelevant, that they just have to do what you do? Or are you somewhere in between and sort of bouncing? And that takes practice too. We have leadership, not here on Tuesdays, but we do have leadership in our community because I do find, I've said this before, in our advocacy team, you could see Lori's one of our advocates. We have a very powerful, strong advocacy team. They are volunteers committed to the community environment inside our academy. And we were just talking about how a lot of what happens with pain management and this training that we do, most of it is the leadership that goes with it. And another example of that would be when you learn something new and it absolutely highlights that you didn't have the information for a long time and were maybe doing something ineffectively for some time. And look, no lives were harmed, right? But you were like doing something, quote, wrong for a while. And now you're like, oh my God, I totally didn't even think that. She's right. The anatomy works like this. And I've been doing it like that this whole time. What do you do with that? What do you do with that new awareness? Do you self beat up to the point where you like instill shame on yourself? for being so wrong and inadequate? And do you do the whole I'm a fraud thing? Or do you like immediately go, I got to correct that now? Are you like in a proactive state about fixing your knowledge and then redoing whatever you did wrong? Are you vulnerable enough to call your client and say, hey, I would like 15 more minutes with you on me, because I want to do this one thing differently for you that I didn't do the right way last week, actually. And I've been thinking about it. Like, where do you go with that information? What do you do when you're aware of how you be in the world? That supersedes your anatomy. It really does. It supersedes it, because whatever you're doing to yourself, you're doing to other people. And then they're doing it back to you and you think it's them. It's never like that. It's just not like that, right? So that's a huge piece of development too, that I really would like to infuse into our not only into our community, but definitely into our community, but into our industry. We've talked a lot about how, our industry is not, it's not where it gets to be yet on the Richter scale, in my opinion. The average lifespan of a massage therapist career is 4 to 6 years. That number hasn't moved. Average career span of a yoga teacher is never full-time. That metric hasn't moved either. And in all of those instances, none of them are making viable livings of abundance. They're still all paycheck to paycheck. It's got to stop, guys. We are literally the only industry that cannot be replaced by robots. I don't know of another industry that that's true for. We're indispensable. So to be making not enough money to thrive on is a money mindset deal. It's not reality. It's not based on value. It's based on belief systems. If you're believing less about who you be and what you offer, that's what your bank account will show you. And I'm not talking about money gouging and pocketing deep, like all that stuff. I've heard that. That's not what I'm talking about. It's an inside out job. Your reality is what you've created from the inside out. Look around. Do you like it? No? Change here. It will change out there. I promise you. I prove this to myself every day. Something I don't like, I shift, it shifts. Magic. Wow. Is it though? No, it's real. That's how it vibes. It's from the inside out. So inside our industry, I would like to change that leadership mind space so that we are all leading forward with a powerful presence instead of that rehearsed, but I'm not a doctor. Instead of I'm this, I'm not that. Do you hear the difference? But I'm not a doctor. I kind of sink down. I curl my spine into joint actions that don't even really optimally support me. But I'm not a doctor. Instead of I'm this, I'm not that. Neutral. There's no right, wrong, bad, or different about it. It's a different energy. So I would like us to arrive to that place. I'm here on a mission to make that happen. Maybe not before the hour's up today, but seed planting is good. So my takeaway for that is just notice where you are in your own mind management, in your own awareness about that as well, because I promise you it moves the needle. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's value for value. I'm pouring into you generously and you are generously getting supported and I am generously living. It's everybody wins. That's the game I like to play. Everybody wins. Not I give so that you can win. That doesn't work anymore, guys. That's old model. It's not where we're headed. Okay, well, I'm glad I opened up for Q&A so I could support you guys. Is there anything else on your mind that I can support you with today? I love talking to you about the questions that you have. I love also teaching you new stuff and I love answering your questions directly. Gary, I think this one was spawned from you. Did we cover you completely?
Totally. I would love to learn about the axial skeleton and what's left.
Okay, fantastic. Because I want to share that with you too. All right, great. Here we go. Ready? Anatomy, straight bones, back to the bones and the basics. Okay. So are you all aware, show of hands, yes or no's, that there are 2 classifications in our skeleton? Some yes, some no. Okay, great. Let's start there. There are 2 classifications in our skeleton. The first column would be the axial skeleton. The second column, there you got it now, yeah. The second column is, do you want to say it, Perry? Do you have it?
The appendix.
Yep, really close. Appendicular is what it, yeah,
Appendicular.
appendicular. Yep, and they are the appendages. Yes. So there's the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. And I put them in that order, even though alphabetically they go in the other order, because of our focus on them as we're navigating injury and restoring function and the like. Does anybody know what makes up the axial skeleton? Little pop quiz, hot seating. Anybody know what makes up the axial skeleton?
The spine.
The spine.
Fine.
Good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And what else?
Skull.
The skull. Great. What else?
Sacrum and coccyx.
Axial skeleton, sacrum and coccyx. Yep, beautiful. What else? Lori's giving us a clue.
The rib cage.
Ribs.
Yeah, the rib cage and sternum. Yep, exactly. Yep. So right down the middle. Murph almost looks like this, by the way, because he's, I don't know, he's barely holding on here these days, but skull, spine, sacrum and coccyx arguably could be considered the spine. I get that. Rib cage and sternum. Yep, all axial skeleton. And if you were to take away the appendicular skeleton, we would look like tadpoles. Right? No arms and legs to swim with, just the tadpole part. The head and the spine would look like the tail. Do you see that in your mind's eye? Yeah, okay, great. And then the appendicular skeleton is basically everything else. What specifically makes up the appendicular skeleton? It's helpful to remember, call them out so we don't get confused later. What makes up the appendicular skeleton? What bones?
Humerus.
Yeah.
Femur, tibia, fibula.
Yeah. Humerus, femur, tibia. What's that?
Innominate.
Yes. I'm just tightening Murph's leg here real quick. The innominants also sometimes overlooked when we get to appendicular skeleton. We're like, oh, arms and legs. And really important here is the innominate, right? The innominate. So either side of the pelvis. Sometimes that confuses folks as they're learning anatomy for the initial stages because we talk about the pubic bone and the sit bone and the ASIS and the iliac crest, the acetabulum, right? These are all bony landmarks on one bone. They're not separate bones. So we sometimes, when we're naming off the bones, we think, oh, there's like, 15 bones in the pelvis. There's 3 bones in the pelvis. And this is where we start to get into using this information to support us with pain and injury. So without looking at Murph, what are the 3 bones in the pelvis? 3 bones in the pelvis. Hot seating for the win. I love hot seating. You'll remember this now. That's why I'm doing it. What are the 3 bones in the pelvis?
The sacrum, the left ominous, and the right ominous.
Innominate. Yes,
Innominate.
Exactly. Yep. The sacrum, the right and left innominate. Exactly. In the newer versions of anatomy, they call it the ox coxa instead of. I still go with innominate because that's I'm OG. I'm old school, so I was taught innominate. But ox coxa is the official Latin name of this bone right here. This bone right here. Ox coxa or innominate, sacrum, other ox coxa or innominate. 3 bones, 3 joints. 3 bones, 3 joints in the pelvis. Some people have said, well, what about the tailbone? Sure. And it only articulates with the sacrum. So yes, that bone lives in this area, but the pelvis specifically for function, ox coxa and sacrum. And yes, there's a movable joint at the bottom of the sacrum called the coccyx for sure. Here's why this is important. How many of you have clients who come in with low back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, hip pain, or ankle pain? Like that's pretty much covers it all, right? Okay. It's like, yeah, that's my whole client load. Me too, just like me. Maybe neck and shoulders, we didn't add that in. Okay, no problem. 99% of them, of all those chief complaints that we just talked about, all those symptoms that walk through the door, 99% of them stem from the relationship between the appendicular and axial skeleton at the pelvis. At the pelvis. Okay. So a couple things about this. The sacrum is the last bone on the spine. It's actually approximately 5 fused bones in utero that come out as one bone. The bony landmarks on this bone are specific though, because so many muscles attach there on this bone. It's not just kind of rough because it used to be solos and now it's, singles and now it's a solo combination. It's designed that way because of all the muscle attachments there. That's really important when we start thinking about function. Anything you think about function, you should think joint action and the muscles that do that joint action. There's your function right there. So if I know that there's joints above, joints on either side, and used to be joints in here that now are covered with muscle attachments, we're talking function when we talk sacrum. We just are talking function when we talk sacrum. And yet, because we don't walk around on our sacrum and we walk on our legs, which is part of our appendicular skeleton, that often gets overlooked. Now, I can go on about sacrum forever. I know Gary and Rhonda are asking me for a live version of our Sacred Sacrum class or course. And I told you guys, like, yeah, we got this. And then it dawned on me, wait, it's like over 15 hours. Like we need to make time for that. So it's not a 3-hour stint. It's a longer conversation, which is why we can't go into all of the sacrum stuff today on Tuesday training, but I will. And I'll let you all know when we're doing that live course again. It'll be the first time since 2021 that we've done it live. So that's exciting. But sacrum, what was that, Gary? Oh, it was yay? Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, great. Celebration, yay. So I really want you to consider the sacrum when you're thinking function and functional patterns and functional movement and alignment. Alignment, because the sacrum being the bottom of the axial skeleton, all of our alignment stems from this axial skeleton. The relationship of the spine to itself and the 4 curves as they relate to each other. There's 4 balanced curves in the spine. 4. Most practitioners could use a little zhuzhing on what to do to balance those 4 curves. And if we do balance those 4 curves, we return someone back to their initial neutral alignment and most of their pain goes away. And that includes the sacrum, because the sacrum is one of those 4 curves. Hugely, bigly important. Huge. Okay. Now, just let me say this about alignment. Our method, the Schatz method, is sacrum centric. Hands down, 31 years of experience, more than 10,000 hours of proof. Sacrum is the keystone. It's the whole kit and caboodle. And there are other practices that say, well, but actually it comes from C1, C2. It comes from the top of the axial skeleton down. I get that. I actually have a C1, C2 specialist in the city where I see clients, and every once in a while, I must refer them to him because we manual and movement practitioners can't get up there. We can't get up there. Even if I could get up there with my fingers, which I can't because it's stuck up underneath that cranium, perfectly designed. Even if I could get up there, there's 7 layers of muscles that prevent me from doing that, even if my finger fit. So C1 and C2 is a big deal. And it can prevent you from creating optimal alignment with someone. And it's not always the thing. So yes, I have a specialist in my city that I refer to somewhat regularly. And when I say somewhat regularly, I mean like 2 people a year. Okay. Everything else I can navigate from the sacrum. The ones that I can't have C1 and C2 that needs to be addressed. And then I still need to go back down and address the sacrum because it's all connected. Okay. And the specialists that I know here in town, we know each other's work. We don't step on each other's toes, and we absolutely know we do different stuff. And that's how it should be, right? That's how it should be for you and your provider network and also with your clients. And the relationship between, let me do feet up first, and then I'll do relationship between sacrum and innominate. I've also had other skilled practitioners come and say, you got it wrong, Gina. It's not in the axial skeleton, it's in the feet. It's in the feet up, right? There's a whole movement that talks about the feet. Look, I spend more time on my feet than the average bear. I love my feet. My feet deserve a lot of love from me. And my feet absolutely have a relationship to my sacrum because of the way they're connected. I'm taking in all of my information from the earth, walking on my feet. It's going up my columns, which are connected to the innominants, which then articulate with the sacrum. It's not because the feet cause it, it's the relationship on that whole chain up from feet to sacrum. But the feet, remember, are the appendicular skeleton. So if I only focus on the appendicular skeleton, I'm focused on the most distal part of the body. Distal meaning furthest away from the center of the design. It logically doesn't make sense if you follow functional anatomy and design and dominoes. Domino, not the game, but like the domino effect of this connects to that. That song is real. The knee bone's connected to, that's a real song. It means something real. So do I think that the feet have an impact on the sacrum? Absolutely. Almost a direct line, except they have to go through all this connective and soft tissue to get there. But if my feet are doing something different, my sacrum registers that. But here's the difference. If I fix my feet, it doesn't necessarily change the alignment of my sacrum, but the opposite is true. If I address the alignment of the sacrum, the feet will hit the ground differently. It's never in reverse. Does the feet hitting the ground have an effect on the sacrum? Yes, but that effect doesn't realign the sacrum. Not in all my clinical experience. There's a connection, but if I'm going to start to create results and I want to get to the genesis of the problem, I got to know where that is. Otherwise, I could be on feet and lower legs and hamstrings for multiple sessions and never actually get them out of their back pain or hip pain because I'm down here instead of at the source. But this is not, the sacrum rarely gives you pain. The pain that will come from the sacrum is that the SI joint, which is the sacral iliac joint, where the innominate, that's another reason why I use, well, innominate's I doesn't mean ilium, but my point is for me to remember bones as I was going along, innominate and ilium and iliac all had eyes. And I was like, oh, that's what it's called. That's just how I did that memorization in my head. Ox coxa takes me a minute. Like my tongue even slows down a little bit while I'm trying to say that. But so the SI joint is typically where if there's going to be any, quote, sacral pain, it will be in the joint where the sacrum meets the ilium. So where the axial skeleton meets the appendicular skeleton, which tells us another thing about the quality of this bone. It's the only bone that does as the keystone of our structure. It's sacred. Like that's why I call that course Sacred Sacrum. This is a big deal down here. It's also a ton of muscle connections. Like if you just do the math, like of hierarchy, like who's holding the most weight, pun intended, it's this guy. It's this guy. So when we have SI joint pain, it's not that the joint is the problem. It's the relationship between the two bones that make that joint is askew. Because if a joint is aligned, if two bones who meet, which is always a joint, if two bones that meet are aligned in their design, there's no pain there. Even if all the soft tissue is intact and there's no soft tissue damage, if the two bones that meet that make up a joint are askew from each other, there's pain there. Because the soft tissue that connects them is working in a way that it's not designed to. Again, if we return the body to where it's designed, there's no pain. So it's not that I have an SI joint problem. I have a misalignment in my pelvis. Because we just talked about that at the beginning. There's 3 bones in the pelvis, 3 joints that make up that pelvis, and anywhere 2 bones meet, they can be askew. So that means that my SI joint pain, sacral iliac joint pain, it's not a problem in the joint. It's a problem in the relationship between this bone and this bone, or this bone and this bone, or this bone and this bone. This joint can be off, which changes, this bone, pubic, where the pubic symphysis lies between the two. This is still the innominate in the front. Remember, we said this at the beginning. This is still the innominate. If this articulation between these two bones is slightly off, like I did with my hand, that means the whole bone is slightly off because it's one bone. If my pubic symphysis is off, or anything at the juncture between my ilium and my sacrum on either side is off, I may have SI joint pain. And even if I don't have SI joint pain, I have functional discrepancies, because there's no way, those of you who are at the Lever System Masterclass, you know this, there's no way you can maximize a muscle's power if the bones that they attach to are out of alignment. We just said it. If these two bones are out of alignment, the soft tissue is strained. It's not optimized. In order for me to create maximum contraction, those have to be aligned. And I'll leave you with this. That doesn't mean they need a chiropractor, because muscles move bone. So for those of you, man, Barry's like, yeah, 2 thumbs up, Gina. Thanks, Perry. I love it. For those of you who are manual and movement practitioners, and y'all are, if you're here talking and playing with me, we do muscles. That's our lane. And again, I promised you at the very beginning, I'm here to teach you where our lanes overlap. You don't have to be a different type of practitioner, movement or manual, opposite of who you are, to have these answers. Just got to know the functional anatomy where it overlaps, and then know what to do with it to fix the problem. Okay, that was the quickest I've ever taught axial, appendicular, skeleton, and the relationship to pain and injury. How was that? Did you guys get some good nuggets? Some good takeaways?
Definitely more next week of this. Focus on this. Definitely more.
You want more of this? Okay.
Yeah, I need to land this.
Very, so good.
As you're explaining this, the sacrum, I used to have I have a dance background.
Me too.
One of the dance was modern dance. One of the dance techniques is Martha Graham.
Yeah.
Movement, and every movement is stemmed from the pelvis and sacrum to move everything.
Yes.
So it hit home when you were speaking that, yeah, no, everything comes from there. You can't start from the feet. It starts from the center outward.
Perfect. Like a starfish. Yeah. You know, Perry, you're reminding me, I didn't piece that together until this very second. You know how we were just saying like 10 years ago, and now I'm reflecting on the information. I'm like, yeah, I was saying it then too. Just this moment right now in this year in time, it just clicked. Oh yeah. So my background was in dance as well. And I definitely knew Martha Stewart. Yeah, you too, Cheryl. And I remember at that time, this just clicked. At that time, I was also finishing my massage therapy track. And that's when I was hearing other people say, no, 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 it's from the top down or from the feet up. And I was like, I don't think that's right. And it was because of our exposure to dance and how the body moves.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. See, now we hear where the seeds were planted. The seeds were planted.
Absolutely.
Look at the tree that bloomed from that. So good. So good. Okay, my lovelies. Well, it's been so fun playing with you today. Thank you for being here and contributing to such a rich conversation. I deeply appreciate you and your contribution here, and mostly the incredible work that you do in the world. So until I see you guys next week,